These are the 3 biggest reasons why you should or should not buy the Jordan 36. Hey, what's up? Zach here. And for better or for worse, the Jordan 36 is a pretty standout shoe compared to a lot of the other new releases this year. So getting into the first reason why you should or shouldn't buy this shoe is probably the most obvious one, and that's that Zoom Air unit in the forefoot that sticks out of the bottom here. This forefoot Zoom Air unit, as well as the full length Zoom Air unit, the stiffer shank on the 36s, as well as this tread bridge, do work together to create a wicked energy storage and release mechanism. When that forefoot Zoom unit gets loaded, it stores in all that potential energy, but because there's this bridge between the forefoot and rear foot pods, what happens is the entire shoe gets loaded, and that energy basically gets stored throughout the entire shoe versus a shoe with just 2 tread pods. And because there's that more rigid shank, these shoes are able to release a lot more energy once you fire your muscles. The full length Zoom Air unit helps too, but just to a lesser extent than these other components. And putting this into practice, look at the jump height test. I got 36 centimeters on average, with my highest going up to 41 centimeters of jump height. This shoe just really blew away most other shoes besides the Zoom Freak 3. And just remember, because these 2 pods of tread are connected by this bridge, this shoe definitely does not have the flexibility of some others, because the shoe moves as one unit versus a lot of other basketball shoes where the forefoot and the rear foot sometimes move independently, which give it a lot more flexibility. This shoe has a lot more ground contact, as you can see, where the whole tread is contacting the ground. So a lot of stability, a lot of friction between the ground. However, remember, this shoe is not going to be as flexible as some others either. The bad part about that Zoom unit is because it protrudes here on the bottom, it sticks out, it can make the forefoot just a little bit wobbly. And if you have more of a C-shaped foot, or if you're prone to ankle sprains, that thing could end up turning on you. The other bad part is because it sticks out, you're going to get abnormal tread wear here, just because this tread is sticking out further than the rest of the tread here in the forefoot. But on the outsole durability test of the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper, these actually are a harder rubber compound than a lot of other basketball shoes we've seen this year, and only just over a millimeter of damage with that Dremel. The only bad part is it still is only a 2 millimeter tread depth, so it still is not a really deep tread. However, for outdoor use, this actually is a little bit more of a durable compound than some other shoes. And so with this forefoot Zoom unit, it really comes down to your foot type, whether you're gonna like it or dislike it, and we'll get to that later in the video. And on the suicide test, I was pretty aware of that potential instability, so I didn't take turns as fast. However, I didn't find that these shoes were as unstable as I thought they would be, so after I was doing the suicide test a little bit, as you can see, every turn I take got faster and faster because I got more and more confident in the shoe. So I think the more you wear the shoe, probably the more confident you become in those turns, just getting used to kind of the engineering of it. The next major reason why these may or may not be your shoe is the upper construction. Now, I'm sure you've seen on Nike's website, these are a Leno weave upper, but what really is that? A Leno weave is when one horizontal strand of yarn, or weft, is woven into 2 separate vertical yarns, or warps. These vertical yarns then form a helix around that horizontal yarn, or weft, and when tightened by a lace, they create almost a slip knot around your foot. Now, this is awesome if all you care about is a stable and secure fit, because as long as the laces are secure, once you tie them down, the shoe is then like a Supermax prison for your foot. It's just not getting out. And on the upper durability test, the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper, a lot like Nike's other woven uppers, these have a relatively really strong durability profile given how thin, and in this case see-through, the uppers are. As you can see, that Dremel did not bite anywhere near through that layer of mesh. So this really does give you a caged in, locked in feel, but also it's pretty darn durable too compared to its weight and bulk. But on the flip side of that coin, these are not the most comfortable uppers by a long shot. Because if you want this secure of a closure, you're gonna have to sacrifice some comfort. They do break in some, but that break-in is more of a width break-in. That weave just doesn't soften much over time. So a thicker sock will go a long way. However, if you're looking for a more plush, comfortable shoe, you just probably wanna look somewhere else. And the last piece of this puzzle, should you buy these or not, really comes down to the fit of the Jordan 36s, because it is a pretty unique shoe. It almost seems like they slapped this Zoom unit in there and then just decided to to build the rest of the shoe around it to try to accommodate it. So if you're somebody, let's say, with a narrow flat foot, these shoes are going to fit you better than a lot of other basketball shoes this year, because this zoom unit in somebody with a more flat foot is going to act like more of an arch cookie under the distal or more front part of your arch. That combined with the stiffer shank is just going to give you a lot more arch support than some other shoes we've seen this year. Now on the flip side of that, if you have a higher arch foot, that zoom unit can actually get pretty annoying because it protrudes so much. I would think with two zoom units stacked on top of each other, you actually get a pretty plush, comfortable ride. But it's kind of the opposite. That zoom unit, because it's protruding, just gets a little bit annoying under the ball of your foot. And I noticed while I was still trying to break these in, I was actually getting a little bit of numbness here or there because the uppers just weren't giving. I had a higher arch, so the uppers were pushing my arch down, my ball of my foot down, into that protruding zoom air unit that was going up. So even though these shoes do have a ton of performance, they are definitely not the most comfortable shoe for a lot of foot types. So I think the buying decision really comes down to, do you want performance or comfort? Because you're not really going to get both out of these. If you're looking for a shoe that's really going to give you a ton of push-off power, then these are going to be a really nice shoe. If you're somebody with a lower center of gravity that doesn't really mind a little bit more of a wobbly forefoot, then you're going to do fine. If you're somebody that wants something with a little bit more of a comfortable upper, something you can wear around a lot or just to kick around in, these are going to be a pretty hard break-in for you. But of course, I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the Jordan 36, and are you willing to try them, even though a lot of these features can be sort of a double-edged sword for a lot of players? And as I touched on before, there's been a ton of really innovative and unique basketball sneakers released this year, and just a ton of new technology that's pretty fun to play around with. So if you want to see what I'm talking about with the rest of the brand new shoes of 2021, make sure you click into this video up above and subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam. I'll see you in the next video.